वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। शृण्वता स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवण कीर्तन हृदयन्तोऽस्ति अभद्राणि विधूनतो विधुनोति सुहृत्सतां नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। श्रीमद्भागवतम Canto 4, Chapter 28, verses 63 and 64. Verse number 63. यथा पुरुष आत्मानम् एकम् आदर्श चक्षुषो द्विधा भूतम् अवेक्षित तथैवान्तरम् अव्ययो. Purport. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Chaitanya Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. As a person sees the reflection of his body in a mirror to be one with himself and not different, whereas others actually see two bodies. So, in our material condition, in which the living being is affected and yet not affected, there is a difference between God and the living entity. Purport. Being affected by the conditioning of matter, Mayavadi philosophers cannot see the difference between the Supreme Lord and the living entity. When the sun is reflected in a pot of water, the sun knows that there is no difference between himself and the reflected sun in the water. Those in ignorance, however, perceive that there are many small suns reflected in each and every pot. As far as the brilliance is concerned, there is brilliance both in the original sun and in the reflections, but the reflections are small, whereas the original sun is very large. Vaishnava philosophers conclude that the living entity is simply a small sample of the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Qualitatively, God and the living entities are one, but quantitatively, the living entities are small fragments of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is full and powerful and opulent. In the previous verse, the Lord says, "My dear friend, you and I are not different." This non difference refers to the qualitative oneness, for it was not necessary for the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality, to remind the conditioned soul that he is not one in quantity. The self realized soul never thinks that he and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are one in every respect. Although he and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are one in quality, the living entity is prone to forget his spiritual identity, whereas the Supreme Personality never forgets. This is the difference between Lipta and Alipta. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is eternally alipta, contaminated by the external energy. The conditioned soul, however, being the conditioned soul, however, being in contact with material nature, forgets his real identity. Therefore, when he sees himself in the conditional state, he identifies himself with the body. For the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, there is no difference between the body and the soul. He is completely soul. He has no material body. Although the supersoul Paramatma and the individual soul are both within the body, the supersoul is devoid of designation, whereas the conditioned soul is designated by his particular type of body. The supersoul is called Antaryami and he is extensive. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 13.3. Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. O Scion of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all the bodies. The super soul is present in everyone's body, whereas the individual soul is conditioned in one particular type of body. The individual soul cannot understand what is taking place in another's body, but the super soul knows very well what is happening in all bodies. In other words, the super soul is always present in his full spiritual position, whereas the individual soul is prone to forget himself. Nor is the individual soul present everywhere. Generally, in his conditioned state, the individual soul cannot understand his relationship with the supersoul. But sometimes, when he is free from all conditional state existence, he can see that he can see the real difference between the super soul and himself. When the super soul tells the conditioned soul, "You and I are one and the same," it is to remind the conditioned soul of his spiritual identity as being qualitatively one. In the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 3:28-40, it is said, यथोल्मुखाद् विस्फुलिङ्गाद् धूमाद्वापि स्वसम्भवात् अपि आत्मत्वेनाभिमतात् यथाग्नि पृथक् उल्मुकात्. Fire has different features. There is flame, the sparks, and the smoke. Although these are one in quality, there is still difference between the fire, the flame, the spark, and the smoke. The living entity becomes conditioned, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead is different because he does not become conditioned at any point. In the Vedas, it is stated, Atma tatha prithak drashta bhagavan brahma samnita. Atma is the individual soul as well as the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is the seer of everything. Although both are spirit, there is always a difference. In the Smriti, it is also said, Yathagne Kshudra Vishpulinga Yu Charanti. Just as sparks manifest in a large fire, similarly the small individual souls are present in the big spiritual flame. In Bhagavad Gita 9:4, Lord Krishna says, Matstani sarva bhutani na chaham tesha avastitha. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Although all living beings are resting in him, as small fiery sparks rest on a large flame, both are differently situated. Similarly, in the Vishnu Puran, it is said, Ekadesha sithas yagner jyotsna vistarini yatha parasya brahmana shaktis tathedam akhilam jagat. Fire is situated in one place, but it distributes heat and light. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is distributing his energies in different ways. The living entity is but one of these energies, marginal energy. The energy and the energetic are one in one sense, but they are differently situated as energy and the energetic. Similarly, the Satchidananda Vigraha form confirmed in Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha, is different from that of the living entity in both his conditioned and liberated states. Only atheists consider the living entity and the personality of Godhead equal in all respects. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says, Mayavada Bhashya Shunile Hoye Sarvanash. If one follows the instructions of Mayavadi philosophers and believes that the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the individual soul are one, his understanding of real philosophy is forever doomed. Text 64. एवं स मानस मानसो हमसो हमसेन प्रतिबोधित स्वस्थस्तद व्यभिचारेण नस्ताम आप पुनः स्मृतिम. Translation. In this way, both swans live together in the heart. When the one swan is instructed by the other, he is situated in his conditional position. This means he regains his original Krishna consciousness, which was lost because of his material attraction. Purport. Here it is clearly stated, Hamso Hamsena Prati Bodhita. The individual soul and the super soul are both compared to swans. Hamsa because they are white or uncontaminated. One swan, however, is superior and is instructor of the other. When the inferior swan is separated from the other swan, he is attracted to material enjoyment. This is the cause of his fall down. When he hears the instruction of the other swan, he understands the real position and he is again revived to his original consciousness. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, comes down, avatar, to deliver his devotees and kill the demons. He also gives his sublime instructions in the form of Bhagavad Gita. The individual soul has to understand his position by the grace of the Lord and the spiritual master because the text of Bhagavad Gita cannot be understood simply by academic qualifications. One has to learn Bhagavad Gita from a realized soul. Tadviti pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Um, Upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Bhagavad Gita 4:34. Thus, one has to select a bona fide spiritual master and become enlightened to his original consciousness. In this way, the individual soul can understand that he is always subordinate to the super soul. As soon as he declines to remain subordinate and tries to become an enjoyer, he begins his material conditioning. When he abandons the spirit of being an individual owner or enjoyer, he becomes situated in his liberated state. The word swastha, meaning situated in one's original position, is very significant in this verse. When one gives up his unwanted attitude of superiority, he becomes situated in his original position. The word tad vyabhicharena is also significant, for it indicates that one is separated from God due to disobedience. His real sense is lost. Again, by the grace of Krishna and Guru, he can be properly situated in his liberated position. These verses are spoken by Srila Narada Muni, and his purpose in speaking them is to revive our consciousness. Although the living entity and the supersoul are one in quality, the individual soul has to pursue the instruction of the supersoul. That is the state of liberation. Om Ajnanatimirantasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamyam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखम करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयति यत्कृपातमं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं वंशकल्पतरुषिकपा सिन्धुवे च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. So today we have in the purpose Prabhupada is mentioning and he's defeating the Mayavadis that how the soul and the super soul are eternally different. They were different, they are different, and they will always be different. There was never a time that they were merged, you know. And there is never a time in the future because there is no time itself in the spiritual world that they will again be one. They will be one with the Supreme Lord in a way that they will be abiding servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And His will they will make their own. That is their oneness. But other than that, there is no merging of any kind. The bird can go inside the tree, and we might think that the bird has now become the tree. But if you watch closely, the bird and the tree have their own separate existence even then. So why is this important? Yes, it's always Prabhupada is making sure that this aspect is very clear to his followers. Yes, to the Vaishnavas. Why? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like they mentioned, Mayavad Bhashya Shunile, Hoy Sarvanash. Sarvanash, it does not even end. It's not something to be taken very casually. This concept of Mayavad has to be very clear. Why? Because because the intent with which we do Hare Krishna, yes, the intent with which we serve Krishna is very important. Why? Because Rupa Goswami says the advancement of a bhakta, of a devotee, depends on the attitude. Yes. And if the attitude is to merge, if the understanding is to merge, then the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is actually, independent. Yes, Harinam Prabhu is independent. We've seen so many classes on in Madhurya Kadambini. There is Harinam Chintamani. That Harinam is independent. Harinam Prabhu is independent. And ya yatham prapadyante, whatever we want, then Krishna is going to provide. But this is spiritual suicide, actually trying to merge. Why? This is poor fund of knowledge. Yes, Prabhupada was and is very strong about this point. Yes, in the line of Madhvacharya, we come Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Madhvacharya was so strong that it's Dvaita, Before Madhvacharya, Vishishta Advaita. But it was all opposing Shankaracharya and his followers. Yes. Where do we accept the philosophy of Mayavad is to the point till liberation. Yes, the path is the same. You chant, you do sadhana, you get up in the morning, you follow the Guru. Yes, they also worship the Guru like so much. Yes, you worship the deity, yes, very much. But we do not accept their ultimate conclusion. Why? Because it is an aparadh to Krishna. Yes, it is an aparadh. The whole point is that when we do not see that it is an aparadh, what is the big deal? It's fine, The problem is that we have not understood what it means to dis to accept Krishna's body as material. Yes. That means if Krishna's body is material, then the relations which we are having and we are doing, that is not eternal anymore. Yes. Bhakti is just, for poor people. No, but bhakti is the highest form. It's above jnana and karma. It's transcendental to both. None of the speculative academic qualifications can make one understand that Krishna is the absolute truth. Yes. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when talking to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when talking to Gopinath Acharya, Gopinath Acharya said, you don't have the mercy. And how do you have the mercy, Gopinath Acharya? Is because I know that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the supreme absolute truth. That is the mercy. So these all points are important for us to actually clear all the weeds. Why? Because there are so many people, other than even amongst devotees, the understanding is not clear. Yes. And that's why we are very strong with this point. Why? Because if our understanding is not clear, the progress we are going to make is in the wrong direction. Yes. Why? Because internally that dirt has not gone away. And that's why studying Srila Prabhupada's books clears that dirt. Yes. Clears the mirror of the mind. And then we can see clearly what is right and wrong. Other than our acharyas, Madhvacharya and the Vaishnava acharyas, if you go anywhere out there, yes, it's become so common that even some other temples, which on the name of secularism, yes, everything is one. They accept all philosophies, yes, and they get many followers, but they will never go back home, back to Godhead. That's a guarantee. Why? Because there is no understanding, there is no attraction, there is no need to be a servant of the absolute truth. Yes, there is no understanding at all. Then, if there is no need to be a servant, why will Harinam provide that at all? Why will Krishna provide that? Then Krishna won't provide to be a servant. And that becomes a problem. Yes. Then going back home, back to Godhead is just a dream for such people. They might work very hard, but the problem is that externally also they might be in mode of goodness, and we appreciate that part. But when they talk about Krishna, we cannot hear at all. There is no hearing from of the devotees from these Mayavadis. Why? There is that tinge, not tinge, the whole dal itself, the whole preparation itself is contaminated by poison. Not even, like conquer, like they say, right? How should I say? Like small stones are there, in dal, and sometimes it goes into the sabji, and then the you actually get the taste of it. But it's very small. You can just remove it. But the thing is that when we hear from Mayavadis, and who are these Mayavadis? It's not just a person who's called a Mayavadi. Yes. If you see the Babas who declare themselves as God, those are Mayavadis. The Babas who do not accept Krishna as the absolute truth are Mayavadis. Yes. Those people who think that Krishna is just, a mere, a form. Yes, nothing else. They are also Mayavadis. Yes, there's so many this XYZ organizations which say that no, 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 the unborn, like Maharaj was so strong. On Sunday, he was saying, this Dr. Radhakrishna says this, and this person says this. He was so strong. Yes, that we do not accept this at all. At all. There is no exceptions. There is no, what do you say, adjustments that no, no, we have to be liberal and all. No, we are not. Externally, we might be, but internally in our hearts, we know that these are aparadhis. We cannot associate with them. We are associating just for the sake that, okay, we have to be nice people. Krishna would be happy. But other than that, there is no way we have to deal with them. Yes. There is no way. People might say that, oh, how can you have Dvaita? Yes. This is so bad. You are not being liberal and this and that. But where is actually the liberty? There is no liberty actually in this world. Yes. There is nobody is actually liberal. Yes. If you actually see it, everybody is liberal to the point of their sense gratification. Yes. And once they sense that if the Mayavadis are so liberal, if everybody else is so liberal, then why not accept? Why not accept our philosophy? Yes. Why not accept only Krishna as their deity? But they won't. How are they liberal then? And then why should we be liberal? We are not liberal. We are Krishna followers. Yes, we are Hare Krishna movement. We are followers of Srila Prabhupada. If Srila Prabhupada is saying that this is how it is, we do not go out there and reinvent and do something else. That's aparad to the Guru also. We have to be very careful of all these things. We might think that, oh, on the name of liberty, we can do so many things. But no, it's not like that. It's never like that. So we have to be very careful that because we start thinking that, oh, we have been in the movement for 5 years, 10 years, and now I know what it means. Now I can behave the way I want. I can go and associate with these people. Nothing will happen. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Philosophy is okay. In the end, the bhav matters. This is all sentiment. This is all bakwas. Prabhupada is so strong about these points. A eternally liberated soul coming and telling all of this, and we will go and do something else, and say something else. No, it's never allowed. That's Guru Aparadh. By that aparadh, we will build progress in bhakti externally. We might have name, fame, prestige. We might become such a great person. But internally, it will be very dry. There is no Krishna in the heart. Why? Because Krishna doesn't have to reciprocate with our chanting, with our anything. Why? Our intent might not be good, so he doesn't have to reciprocate. And that's why the heart remains dry. Yes, Krishna doesn't reciprocate, we don't feel anything. Yes, and when we don't feel anything, what is the use of doing anything? Yes. So we have to be very careful with this Mayavad stuff. We cannot take it lightly. Srila Prabhupada ki